So, let's talk about the system that feeds all 8 billion of us. It runs on a rulebook that was written nearly 30 years ago. Yeah, 30. It was designed for a totally different world with completely different problems. Today, we're going to break down why that old blueprint is failing us and explore what a fair, more sustainable food future could actually look like.
This quote right here gets straight to the heart of it. Our food systems are pushing our planet to its limits and, honestly, making inequality even worse. The rules of trade are a huge lever for change, but the big question is, are they pulling us in the right direction?
All right, so let's dive into that rule book. It's called the Agreement on Agriculture, and it was created for a world that, just doesn't exist anymore. A world before we were really grappling with things like climate change or the incredible power of global corporations.
And here it is, the Agreement on Agriculture, or, as you'll often hear it, the AoA. This is the WTO's foundational text. It's shaped global food trade for the last 3 decades. You could almost say it's the very DNA of our modern food system. You have to remember, this agreement was a product of its time. It was born in an era all about neoliberal ideas, opening up markets, boosting exports, that kind of thing. Back in the early 90s, stuff like environmental sustainability, food security for poorer nations, or the power of big corporations, they just weren't really on the agenda. The goal was efficiency, full stop.
But here's the thing, it wasn't just an issue of outdated priorities. The whole framework was kind of flawed from the get-go, with inequality baked right into its DNA.
I mean, this contrast says it all, doesn't it? The negotiations were totally dominated by wealthy nations in the global north. Their biggest headache? What to do with all their agricultural surpluses. Meanwhile, the global south was worried about underproduction and literally how to feed its people. Can you guess whose priorities won out?
This slide just lays out the imbalance so clearly. The rules let wealthy countries lock in high tariffs to protect their own markets. They also created this giant loophole called the green box, which basically gave them a green light to continue massive subsidy programs. But at the same time, they severely restricted the ability of developing countries to support their own small farmers. And what's crazy is that the immense power of huge agribusiness firms, it wasn't even part of the conversation.
So, okay, the rules were flawed from day one, but since then, the world has completely transformed, while the AoA has pretty much been frozen in time. Just look at this. It's a dramatic shift in who grows our food. The global south, which remember, had very little say in writing the rules, now accounts for nearly 3/4 of all agricultural production. The whole center of gravity for food is moved, but the power structure, not so much. And it's not just where our food comes from, it's what we're trading. Take a look at this table for a second. Back in 1986, the top traded goods were staples, right? Wheat, maize. Now, fast forward to 2021, and the list is dominated by soybeans and palm oil. This isn't just a simple swap. It represents a massive, seismic shift toward commodities for animal feed, biofuels, and processed goods, a shift that brings a ton of new environmental challenges the original rules never, ever saw coming.
So this mismatch between the old rules and our new reality has created a system with enormous hidden costs for farmers, for communities, and for the planet itself.
Think about this from a market power perspective. More than half of the entire global flow of grains and oilseeds is in the hands of just 7 companies. 7. That's a classic oligopoly. This intense concentration gives a tiny handful of corporations huge influence over prices and policies, and it really weakens the bargaining power of both farmers and even entire governments.
And here's one of the most critical takeaways of this whole thing. The cheap price tag you see on a lot of imported food, it hides the true costs. Environmental damage like deforestation or water depletion, what economists call negative externalities, it's not priced in. Those costs are paid for by nature and by communities in the importing countries. This effectively creates a hidden subsidy for consumers in wealthier importing nations.
This quote from the Dasgupta Review explains it perfectly. It shows how environmental damage in a poor exporting country becomes a hidden subsidy. It's a direct transfer of wealth. It's flowing from the ecosystems and people in the exporting country straight to the consumers in the importing one.
So, with a problem this deeply rooted, you can't just keep patching up a broken system, right? A group of experts has proposed a complete overhaul, a total reboot.
It's called the Agreement on Agriculture Reimagined. And the key thing here is that it's not about just tweaking the old AoA. No, this is a proposal for a brand new treaty built from the ground up to meet the real challenges of the 21st century.
And its objectives? Well, they represent a fundamental paradigm shift. This new model puts sustainability, human rights and equity at its absolute core. It's designed to force trade to operate within our planet's limits, to support diverse local food systems, and to actively fix the power imbalances of the old agreement.
So let's bring this all home and look at why this new approach isn't just some academic idea, but why it's becoming an absolute necessity.
The global conversation has really changed. That obsession with pure market efficiency from the 90s is giving way to new priorities. I mean, after a pandemic, supply chain shocks, and growing geopolitical tensions, countries are now focused on resilience, on security, and on long-term sustainability. The whole political economy is shifting, and with it, so is the appetite for a new set of rules.
And that leaves us with this final critical question. The old system, well, it gave us a certain kind of efficiency, but it came at a steep and often hidden price. Are we now willing, and are we able, to build a new one? A system that values fairness and sustainability as the true measures of success. One that's designed not just to trade food, but to truly nourish both people and the planet.